TUFF SHIFT. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT, the podcast where we unpack all that goes into surviving the job and living the dream. I am your host, Patrick Murtagh, and let me just tell you, people, I am so excited this morning. I am so nervous. I just need to acknowledge the amount of nerves that are running through my body because today is a dream come true. We are on episode 51. We are almost at our 1 year mark. I kind of forgot last week to mention with Eden's show that it was our 50th show, which is, most podcasts don't make it past 3. That's apparently the average. That's where they say people peter out. And I, as a very intense gay man, strive to be above average in every way and am hell or high water. 1 listener or 5 million. This podcast is a thing and will continue to be a thing. And as so happy that we're getting to this 1 year. And today, why I'm nervous and why I'm like, blah, 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 just rambling, as I always do, is today I have my dream guest. Like literally when I set this show up and I was like, this is going to happen. This is what I want to do. This is the trajectory of what I want this show to become. This person was at the top of the list of dream guests. And we're not even at a year and he's already agreed to do my show, but we're going to get to that when we get to that, because that's what the interview for is. And we have a pre-shift to get through, right? We have a pre-shift, which is a very important part of any service. Pre-shift is basically the foreplay of working in hospitality. And if you've ever worked at a place where pre-shift wasn't a thing, pre-shift wasn't something that they put effort into, you knew you were just getting fucked for 6 hours, all right? So let's not do that. We're not going to do that here. We're not going to do that at work. We're going to have a great pre-shift, and I want to start with some shout-outs and shut-ups, which is apparently something I accidentally came up with a couple weeks ago, and God bless Maddie Pagel, our, I venture to say, our most engaged listener, with always calling me out for good and bad, and interacting on Instagram as he listens live. I love that. But apparently I did some shout outs and shut ups a few weeks ago, and he pointed that out, and I was like, yeah, that was definitely intentional. So we're going to make that intentional in this pre-shift. We're going to start with some shout outs. First of all, to our most recent guest, Eden Castile, who is bringing her show, Con Artist, Madeline and Me, a tribute to Madeline Kahn, to San Francisco, my home, sweet home, and to my creative home where I got my start in cabaret and performing at Martuni's in San Francisco, which is a legendary bar. It is the only piano bar in San Francisco left, and it is just, it is a treasure. It is a local treasure. It is a home for so many people. It's where a lot of people in San Francisco have their outlet to perform and to create their shows and to try again. It's where artists go to incubate. And for over a decade, I did my Christmas show there before moving to the Nico. And I was so sad to leave that place, but they were just so like, that's part of the game. That this is what we're here for. And I'm so glad that Eden is going to have her chance at Martuni's with this phenomenal show. She is hilarious, and she has a glorious soaring soprano. You're just going to fall in love with her. You're going to and Madeline Kahn. Who doesn't love Madeline Kahn? The flames down the side of my face. Like all of that's going to be in it, but from Eden's lens and what Madeline meant to her. So go see her at Martuni's on September 27th at 7 p.m. The link for tickets is one of those Eventbrite links. So it's like Eventbrite QRX9er. Did I hear a niner? Weird symbols. So just find me on social media. The link will be attached everywhere. And just go. Also, Martuni's is one of the best kept secrets. Well, it's not really a secret, but their drinks are the best kept secret in San Francisco with inflation and everything rising. Martuni's has like 10-ounce martinis. Yeah, like their drinks are ridiculously large and strong, which as a gay man, I am all here for, and relatively cheap, which also as a gay man, I resemble. So get yourself 2 Martuni's any night of the week, but specifically September 27th at 7 p.m. Next up is Josh Bardier, one of my favorite guests and favorite people in New York City. You remember we were talking about that amazing lineup he hosted for 5 years in New York City, called Actoria. He's coming back with a new lineup at the Monster, September 21st at 3:30. It's called Star Quality, and the lineup is going to be ridiculous, and it's free. For free, it's free admission. If you've not been to the Monster, it's an amazing gay bar right across from the Duplex, just diagonal from Marie's Crisis. And Josh is ridiculously talented, and he only hangs out with ridiculously talented people. So it's going to be a great lineup. Jason Wetzel is on the piano. If you ever get a chance to sing with Broadway's Jason Wetzel, he's a music director just to die for. He is phenomenal. So that is September 21st at 3:30 p.m. At the Monster, which is 80 Grove Street in the West Village. If you can't find it, I don't know what to tell you. It's literally right off the one train, Christopher Street. And the final shout out today is someone who is very near and dear to me, someone I think is quite special and quite talented, and has waited 2 whole years to book their first theater job in Los Angeles. And that, of course, is me. Oh, you are goddamn right, people. I say, don't ask me about auditions. Please don't ask me how my auditions are going. Just know that when I book something, I will be screaming it from the mountain tops. And that is what I am doing right now, people. 2 whole years in LA, which despite what people say about LA, there is quite a theater scene. You just have to be willing to drive, right? You got to be up in the valley, you got to be in Orange County, you got to be LA proper. There is plenty of theater going on. It's just a matter, but they already have their troops basically. There's already the commodities that are known here in LA, and it's just about getting known. That's what my agent told me when I moved here, and that's what I experienced in getting so many callbacks and not booking shit, which obviously booking is part is the ideal, but really there is, as we talked about with Spencer Glass just last week or the other week when this is being released, building connections and being known as a reliable person is an important part of the game, which is why I suggest if you have an actor in your life, if you have a performer in your life, maybe don't ask about the auditions, but just ask how things are going, what they're working on, what they're creating, what something that is inspiring, and just let them know that you're supporting them and that you trust that they're doing what they need to do, because we are in the trenches and making things happen. And finally, after 2 years in LA, I am so happy to be returning to the stage behind a script. The show is Parade. You may have heard of it. Recently had a revival on Broadway, and the national tour just wrapped up. It was actually just in LA in June. It's a phenomenal show. It's a meaningful show, and something that needs to be seen today. It is a very impactful show, and I'm so glad to be a small part of it. I will be playing Governor Slayton. So I'm working on my Georgia accent, basically just rewatching that Golden Girls episode with Blanche and her gay brother, and I'm just kind of getting my character study through that. But we open on October 23rd, and we run through November 2nd at the Electric Lounge in Venice, California, which is amazing. It's basically in my backyard. I cannot wait to get this show on its feet. We actually just had our first read through last night. And, this is what I say it's all for when I mention the carrot at the end of the stick that keeps us slinging drinks and serving hash and dealing with shitty customers and bad tippers and managers who are never anywhere to be found. This is what it's all about. And this is my why. And I'm just so glad to have that carrot look a little shinier at the end of the stick for me now. So yeah, come see me, come see Eden, come see Josh. There are so many wonderful things going on wherever you are. Go support live arts and be nice to your servers, all right? And now time for some shut ups. I want to start with one person who I was recently catering at that amazing institution that I work for here in LA. It's an art institution that has its own in-house catering staff, and we just have fun. They have such an amazing staff. They're not perfect, right? No job in hospitality is perfect, but they managed to curate like an amazing roster of, not everyone's great, right? Some people suck, but that's still part of the process. It's all about balance, but we all get along for the most part. We all make it work. It's like we're like a bunch of latchkey kids. We're just kind of like going around this campus of this art institution in LA, just getting the job done. I have my little cliques, not cliques as in like mean girl things, but just like groups. I have my little Latinas, and when they found out that I'm actually Latino, like they're like, "Oh, we can speak Spanish to you." So we do our little chit chatting and we do our little gossiping, chismoseando, and we have such an amazing time. I have my bar team. It is such a wonderful experience every time I go there, for the most part. And the patrons are regular faces we see over and over. And one of the benefits of catering is that you're not dancing for a tip. It's all kind of just built into the cost. And the other thing I love, so there's just that you can relax. Like, I'm just serving you wine. I'm barely making a cocktail. Like, these open bars at these events, it's, if I make a Cosmo, that's a good day, right? There's not much going on, but you see these people over and over, and it's all controlled. The other thing I love about catering is that you have a built-in no. You don't get to say no to people in restaurants. It's very rare, and if a no is to be delivered, the manager gets the joy in telling the customer no. It's ripped out of your hands. You always have to say yes, or you know what? Let me ask. Let me see what I can do, even though you know the answer is no. But in catering, there is always a strong built-in no, and that is when the bar closes. And after the bar closes, your bar manager, your bar captain will come up and be like, 9:55 hard close, 7:15 hard close, 7:45 hard close. And this event, we had a hard close at 7:45 because this venue had an outdoor show that was going on. And so we had to stop. They could bring their drinks into the show, which is kind of a perk because you don't always get to bring your drinks into the galleries or shows wherever you're at. But the show started at 8 p.m. So we had to break down the bar in that 15 minutes and not make a peep starting at 8 p.m. because it's an outdoor show and we're working outside. So we can't be dragging chairs and clinking bottles. So we had obviously the hardest no you can imagine. And most people are fine with it, right? You've been drinking for free for 2 hours. So tell me why this woman comes up to the bar and goes, "Oh, hi, I know you're closed, but can I just get like one more Pinot Grigio?" And the bar captain's right there. So literally, no, because I'm not getting written up for this. But we're just like, "Oh, so sorry, we're closed. We're not serving anymore." And she goes, "Yeah, but I work here." "So do I." "No, no, 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 no. But I work here. You can give me one more wine. You work here. You should be better." And she just continues to like, not what's the word I'm looking for? Condescending. Sorry, I speak two languages. In a condescending way, just keeps throwing it over that she works in. Like, I get it, lady. Your badge is blue and my badge is orange. I already know the dynamics here. I know you outrank me, but I also know that you get like anywhere from 3 to 5 catered events a week. You are always eating for free. You are always drinking for free. You know better. You have all this at your hand, and that's still just not enough. And working here, you should be better behaved, and you should be better to your coworkers, because yes, orange badge, blue badge, but we still work here together. And that's just like a really shitty way to behave because you couldn't have your fifth glass of mediocre Pinot Grigio. Just don't be that person. You get fed all the time. You get an open bar 5 times a week. We literally take home your scraps. So don't be that person when we're all in the same boat. We're all on the same payroll. That's my shut up for the week. That's my shut up for the week. And I'm going to shut up for the week because you know what? Like I said, I actually had something else to say, but we're running. I'll bring this up later. It's about my shitty coworker. All right, that'll be the cliffhanger that brings you back next week to hear an update on my shitty coworker, who has no idea he's shitty, even though he keeps getting suspended and shifts taken away. We'll come back to that next week. I want to get, because I'm so excited. My nerves have turned into excitement, to today's guest, who is an author, dream guest. First of all the things he is, dream guest. He is an author, an actor, a singer, a blogger, a social media sensation who has contributed articles for Food and Wine magazine, has been featured on Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, the New York Post, Huffington Post, Bon Appetit, Eater, with his 10 commandments of what children should not do in theater, or 10 commandments of children being in restaurants, not theater. What job am I today? Oi. His book, The Bitchy Waiter, Tales, Tips, and Trials from a Life in Food Service, is a #1 Amazon selling book. He also has a show that he travels with called The Bitchy Waiter Show, a live cabaret stand-up comedy routine that I knew when I started following Bitchy Waiter. I'm like, oh, obviously he has to be an actor in his background. Obviously he has to have performance in his background. And then I saw a clip that he shared. It was like a throwback, like, oh, from my show. Bitch can sing. And I feel comfortable calling him Bitch because that's his title. Bitch can sing. And I was like, he's a singer. He's a performer. Later find out we have so many people in common from our time in New York. And he really is someone who is so special, so needed, and so meaningful to our community of people who work in hospitality. He is sharing funny memes that just kind of break the tension and kind of just, we can relate to, like, that happened to me last night, or, oh my God, I've seen that. And just feeling seen and heard. The content he makes, the reels he shares of customer interactions, of reading one-star reviews, are always hilarious and always spot on. But one thing that he does that I love the most is that in his Facebook community, he shares questions and comments from other community members who reach out and be like, hey, this is happening at my work, or is it normal that this is happening? And it creates this outlet for us to come together and have this dialogue, because, in HR, they don't work for us. They work for the company. They're not looking out for us. And if you go to them, that can be a bit tricky. So he is basically our social media HR, where we can vent. And I even reached out to him one time and was like, this happened at work and blah, 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 and like barfed up my life story in a DM on Facebook. And he literally replied and was like, hey, thanks for sharing. Just know you're not alone in this. I hear you. I see. I was like, Bitch actually writes back. Truly, he does. He is a phenomenal human being, and he has a movie coming out, We Are So Dead, premiering September 22nd at the Plaza Theater in Atlanta. It is a horror comedy for the service industry by the service industry, and they are partnering with the Giving Kitchen, which is a nonprofit organization helping food service workers in crisis through financial assistance and community resources in support of National Food Service Workers Day, which I really appreciate, and will be donating some tickets because, as somebody who lived through the recent fires and whose income was affected by that from my place of business being closed down for 3 weeks, I can really appreciate what they're doing. And I think if you can contribute to the Giving Kitchen, you should. But we'll talk all about that. I cannot wait to welcome the amazing, the phenomenal, the iconic Darron Cardosa, also known as the Bitchy Waiter.
Hi. Oh my
Hi.
God. You did so much research. I appreciate it. It's so nice of you. It's so great.
I'm going to steal this from Eric Wills, who hosts That's a Gay Ass Podcast. I am a gay journalist. It's my job.
Good. Well,
I'm repurposing from other people's podcasts.
it was
But it's
great.
not just the research that I had to do for the show. I've been doing research on you basically as long as I've been following you, which sounds kind of creepy.
No,
But
it doesn't.
you really do mean so much to so many people, and you see that in the interactions. You see that in the way, in the likes and the discourse you get started, which is phenomenal. So thank you so
Oh
much
gosh.
for
Thanks.
being that. And we're going to unpack, because also you get some people who respond, and I'm like, do you know who you're following? Like, you get some trolls in there, which we'll unpack
Uh,
later.
yeah, yeah.
But
There's
before
always
we
trolls.
there's always trolls. I'm like, do you know who you're following? Like, you're actually speaking out against tipping. You're actually speaking out against being nice to waiters. Like,
I
that's
know.
that's bold, Karen. And usually it is
Yeah.
somebody named Karen, which is on brand.
True.
Um,
Yep.
but I want to start this interview or conversation the way I start every conversation here. What was your gateway job into being the stereotypical actor, singer in New York City, slinging hash to pay rent and to supplement your classes and auditions?
Well, my first job in the industry, it was in high school, and I was a dishwasher at a sirloin stockade in Victoria, Texas. And this was a long time ago. I'm going to say the year because it doesn't even register for me. So that was in 1985. And then I started, Yeah, then when I got to college and I needed a job, I just went right back to the restaurant industry
Yeah.
because I was in school for musical theater and I really, really wanted to be the waiter who, is an actor. It's a stereotype, but I really want to embrace it. So in college, I started just working as a busser, and then I was like a food runner, and then I ended up being a server. And then, here I am all these years later, still like talking about it.
I'm glad that you gave the year because recently I saw a post and you said something about 1989, and I was like, the fuck? And so I assume we make mistakes. I assumed you meant 1999. So
No,
you keep that portrait hidden in that attic because whatever you're doing is working. I didn't believe you. I was like, oh, he's off by 10 years. Good for him though.
no,
I'll
no.
support it.
I've been doing this for a long time. So yes, yeah, I was in high school in the 80s. It's crazy.
And I'm sure
But
you've
yes.
seen a lot of change. Like I feel like I'm coming at 20 years and I've seen, from aloha to toast and everything in between
Oh
and,
yeah, yeah.
a life before social media, like being in restaurants without people on their phones.
Oh
You've
yeah.
you've seen so much. Is there anything you miss about the old days of waiting tables?
Well, I think back then it was definitely more interactive, I think,
Hmm.
because, people were not distracted by looking at their phones. There weren't QR codes. There were actual menus. You talked to people. You would write down your order on a piece of paper. And I mean, I actually worked in a restaurant where you would write it on a piece of paper and then, hang it up in the kitchen and they'd spin around that wheel and pull a ticket off. So like it's all, you were connected to the back of the house more.
Yeah.
Now, so often with like, handheld devices, servers might not even go into the kitchen. They just do it literally at the table. It goes right into the kitchen and they don't even interact with the back of house. So I know that's a huge difference. And, I don't know if it's necessarily better. It might be more efficient to do it that way, but there's definitely less connection between
Yeah.
the people who work together and the people that you're serving.
I think in this technology where like again you're saying we're not interacting with each other, like that spinning of that wheel and pulling the tickets
Hmm.
down, that's part of what like romanticized it and like that looks so cool and we're part of this team and doing this dance. But now that everything is on a tablet,
Yeah.
it's almost like waiters and even bartenders, I'm going to call myself out, we've become like keyboard warriors where we're brave because we don't have to interact with a kitchen. So we'll
Well,
just like
true.
type a request and just
It's a
pray.
lot easier to type it than go in and ask like in the olden days, like, I'm sorry, I forgot to put, can you please do this? Now you can just type it on there and like you
Yeah.
can hear them yelling in the back. But yeah,
I mean,
there are good points and bad points, I guess.
even as a bartender, I'm like just like feeling it where I'm like, I'm too old for this shit because everything is a touch screen now. So whereas I dread the sound of a ticket machine,
Oh yeah.
there's something better about having physical tickets than a touch screen that makes no noise. And to your point about writing things down, there's a way to pace the evening. So I used to work at a place where it's like,
Hmm.
okay, it's Friday, it's Saturday night. What we're going to do is not forget to put our orders in, but we're going to take
Yeah.
the order at this time and we're just going to wait 5 minutes after every
Yeah.
order we take. But there's nothing like I just get a slew of tickets nonstop and it'll be like no tickets for, the first hour. And then in 2 minutes, I get 20 tickets and
Yeah.
there's always that one waiter who again because they don't have to come talk to me on the fly like I'm gonna start calling her Marty because she is Marty McFly. Everything she puts is on the fucking fly.
Yeah, of
I've
course.
been thinking of nicknames for her, but it's
There she is.
always the same
She's
thing.
Marty
It's
McFly from now on. Yeah, it's perfect.
exactly we come up. I can't wait to show her this clip. So now I want to get to the second question, even though there's been a few questions and conversations in between all that. uh, of all the tough shifts from 1985 to now, and you've worked in cabaret spaces, which we
Oh
talked about
gosh.
briefly, like, and we talked last week about dealing with cabaret patrons is you should be beatified. There is sainthood in that. I love my community, but I also know my community.
Yes.
Is there a tough shift in all those shifts that just like lives rent free and just is like
Yeah.
stands out amongst the rest?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of them, as we all have, but I was really thinking about this. And I worked at a Hula Hands in
Oh,
Times Square for about 4 years. And so, I mean, that right there should say enough, right? But there was one in particular shift, and I worked there for so long, and it was so long ago that they all kind of meld together. But one in particular I remember was when Radio City we were like a block away from Radio City. So it would be insane because they have like 5 shows a day, right?
Yeah.
So every hour and a half, we would just get slammed with people, and then we'd turn it over and then get slammed again. It was just constant. And, we'd make so much money, but it was just hard. And one shift, I remember at the end of the shift, I was a closer. We had already sent, me and the other closer had already sent everybody else home. And then the manager told us that they were having the carpets cleaned that night, which that meant, we had to take all of the tables and all of the chairs, out of the dining room and like take them over to the bar where, it was tile floor. But we had already sent everybody else home. And I was just like, this was a giant restaurant. And it was just two of us now that had to drag all of those chairs like out of the dining room. And I was just so pissed off, but I did it. But then after I did it, I quit. Like I quit on the spot. Like I wrote it on a bev nap, and I just literally taped it to the door of the manager's office, and I just walked out. And that was the last straw at the Hula Hands. That was a tough shift. Yes.
And they like to do that. They spring that on you because they know you would either call out if you knew, like, oh, don't forget
Yep.
Tuesday we're doing carpet cleaning, because they used to do that
Mm-hmm.
shit at Sardi's all the time. And like
Mm-hmm.
that's a big dining room,
Oh,
and those are chairs from like
oh,
1921 and tables from
right.
1920. They're heavy as fuck.
Yeah, like big wooden chairs, like dragging them around, like 150 chairs that you're taking around. Oh yeah, I just remember being so pissed off. I ended up going back to that job like a few weeks later, though. But it's crawling back. I didn't get a job.
It's the sex with the ex of restaurant workers. Like,
Totally, totally.
just you'll be back. I've only done that once, and that was the place I worked for. Well, I'll say I'm not talking shit about them. But when I worked for Cook Shop in
Oh,
Chelsea, there was
uh-huh.
one I was like, I was so glad to get out of there, just to be out of the service industry, and because I do a side hustle of bookkeeping as well. So I
Hmm.
got a job at an art gallery up the street from Cook Shop, and it was like so cool, and I was double dipping, and then it was like, I can't do this, and waiting tables is not for me anymore, so I quit. And it was so funny because Anna Marie, my manager, she was so happy. She's like, I'm very proud of you, Sean Patrick. Darpa, darpa, darpa. And I was like, Anna Marie, like, I literally, like, this is not my dream. This is I'm not quitting because I'm going to Broadway. Like, I'm doing books for what I would later find out was an allegedly, drug fueled gallery owner who got into a $5 million lawsuit with a famous photographer. So
Of
a
course.
few months later, and this was in January of all things, where like before the lawsuit was like, is going on, I got myself out of that gallery and crawled back to Cook Shop in
Yeah.
January. And Anna
Oh,
Marie gave me a job. So that is why, of all the things that Cook Shop does right and wrong, they were there for me when I need it. Other than
yeah.
that, I've been very proud of, like, because I'm a bit stubborn. I'm a sassy Scorpio, Irish, Latin. I'm genetically and astrologically designed to be spiteful. So I've never had to go back.
I mean, that's the only time I did it at Hula Hands, but Hula Hands had a pull on a lot of us there. So
Yeah,
for
I mean,
some
it's
reason,
the golden handcuffs come in many
yeah.
forms.
Oh
It's
yeah,
what keeps us stuck here. Now,
yeah.
because you mentioned Radio City and especially these Christmas spectaculars, I working at Sardi's, which is a good 10
Oh
blocks away from Radio City, we still
yeah.
got hit. We
Oh,
still
I'm sure.
December was nuts. And they're like, oh,
Oh
but you make so much money. I'm like, I mean, it's Shirley Temples and
yeah,
people from Long Island and Jersey, all the bridge and tunnel, not necessarily the
exactly.
best tippers.
Yeah, I mean that's who would come into Hula Hands too, like people from Ohio who are like in the big city, and they're like, "Oh my God, where are we going to eat? Look, there's a Hula Hands. Let's go there." I'm like, "Okay, here we go." And then they
Here we
would complain
go.
about how expensive it is. I'm like, "Yeah, because we're in Times Square. You're not in like Ohio right now." But
Exactly.
the tips at Hula Hands, it was definitely uh, quantity over quality.
Yes.
The
You're
turnover
living
was
off
just
volume.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why we just kept going back.
But the other part of that, which is, with the Christmas special, is, like I said, it's Shirley Temples. It's
Oh
kids.
yeah,
It's
kids.
lots of children, which, I come from a big family. I worked as a nanny. I love my nieces and nephews.
I did
But,
too. I worked as a nanny too.
but there's something about children in restaurants where it's just like, I love the Gaytriarchs. It's an amazing podcast about gay fathers and this and that. And there was one episode a while ago about, people being, so harsh on kids in restaurants, and how, it's part of the process. We all have to do it. I'm like, yeah, but you have to come to my section. Like, I understand your point,
Yeah,
but like, there are things where it's like, I'm not your nanny. I'm your nanny when I'm working at your house. I'm not your nanny when I'm
Yeah.
working at a restaurant. So you
Right.
have these 10 things that children should not be allowed to do in restaurant. And I'm not going to
Oh
ask you to
God.
do it from memory. So I'm
Oh
going to help you
God.
out here. I'm going to do it. So
Who knows? Yes, I wrote it so long ago.
number one, they should never leave cereal all over the
Oh.
damn place. What the fuck is that?
I know. Like, why is that? Like, they're literally at a restaurant with food. Like, why do you have to feed them Cheerios like in the 10 minutes it takes for us to bring out their buttered noodles? Like, what is the problem? And then why do they all end up on the floor? Like, they're not even eating them. And then why do they have to crush them before they leave? Like, it's just mind blowing.
And
Enough with
sugar
the
caddies,
Cheerios.
just taking the sugar caddies. And it's like
Oh,
I had a coworker actually at Cook Shop who was like the mom was like, oh, they just this is what they do. And he looked at her and said,
uh-huh.
yes, because you allow it. And she
Exactly.
was not
Yes.
expecting that response. And
Uh-huh.
then it's like
Yeah.
if you're gonna do that, if you're like, well, it's their job to clean it up. It's like, yeah,
Oh.
why am I getting 18%, which I don't think 18% is a good tip. Why am I getting 18% most? The
Yeah.
most, like, if I'm cleaning up after your child, like, you should be a little more generous. I
Uh-huh.
get children are expensive, but
But
like my friend Marty
still.
says, like, nobody asked you to have them.
No, right. I remember I had to clean up some kids who would just were they were eating white rice and they just dropped it all over the floors on a hardwood floor. Have you ever tried to sweep up rice? It doesn't sweep. It doesn't just go into a dustpan. It just like, smudges all over the place. So you
And
end
the
up
more
having to
it
get on
gets
your hand.
tackier and tackier,
Yeah,
the more you
and
try.
it just yeah, there's no other option except just basically go down with a paper towel and like pick up each little piece. I remember that vividly being on my knees doing
I
that.
I believe that children are a future.
Oh
Um,
yes, somebody's future, yeah.
they so I probably shouldn't do the whole list. You can find the list where you see it, but one thing is this: uh, they should never leave their dirty diapers. I'm I'm
I
upset that you had to write that.
can, and I've had to deal with that. Like I did it once. I worked at Vinyl. I'm sure you know Vinyl.
Oh, I love vinyl. They had the French press
So
coffee.
yes, I worked at the Vinyl on the Upper East Side, not the cool one,
Okay.
but I worked there, and yeah, somebody left a dirty diaper on the table, like just left it there, like balled up, on the plate with their napkins and things. Like it was, I couldn't believe it. That still to this day, like that may be the day that I started my blog because it was right around that time that I started
Yeah.
the blog. So that might have been the one that was like, I got to write this down. I got to put this out on the internet.
Got to take these notes
That's
because I mean I have a thing where I'm like when I'm thinking of stuff for the show I'm like I got to remember that, and then I get home and I'm like, you have ADHD, you're not meant
oh,
for that, you literally have
gone.
to write it down.
It's gone. Yes, me too.
In Okay, so this one really pisses me off because where I work now, I just got myself out of the frying pan into the fire, whatever.
Either way, they both work.
They both work.
Yeah.
So this place is like, as most restaurants do this, their training is so thorough and so intense. I had like all this food knowledge, and then the culture, the corporate culture that I had to
Mm.
learn, only to get into service and find like all of that's out the window, and we're like any
Yeah.
restaurant
Yeah.
left to fend for ourselves. But there was an entire section on dealing with children in restaurants, and I'm like looking at the person because I actually had the person who's the director of training, because they have a director of training for this restaurant group. She wrote this and she is just so gleeful about, like, it's part of our responsibility to help parents feel at ease when they come in, and we're here to help them settle in. We need to be able to distract their children. We need to be able
Oh,
to, this is
no.
an opportunity to make a new friend. And I was like, you
Mm.
don't have children, and you've
Right.
probably never nannied, because like I always say, they're fucking assholes. And
Yeah.
I trust parents. If I say, well, kids can be assholes, and parents like, yes, I'm like, okay, you're somebody that I
Right.
can relate to on a level.
Yeah.
Wonderful, love children, but they're assholes. But the thing was, like, we don't offer crayons. We don't offer crayons at this restaurant. So you should be willing and have extra pens and paper on you to give to the
Mm.
kids. And I was
Mm.
like, so I just want to know what your
Really?
thoughts on that. Like, right? Like that.
Well, That kind of seems like a parent's responsibility. Like, I don't feel like you should go to a restaurant and expect that the restaurant's going to have something to entertain your child in the 10 minutes that it takes, but that doesn't mean that I want your kid to be sitting on an iPad with the sound turned up so I can listen to, like, Blue's Clues or whatever kids are watching today. So,
Unless it's
find
Bluey. I
something.
love
Well,
Bluey. That's
I
a
mean,
good show.
I guess within reason, but like, I don't understand why parents think it's the restaurant's responsibility to provide crayons and coloring books and things for them to do. And while we're on the topic, I also really, really hate when parents kind of use their server to be the bad guy. If the kid wants something, or they're like, they're not finishing their meal, and parents will be like, you better finish your meal, or the waiter's gonna be pissed off. I'm like, I'm not gonna be pissed off. Like, I don't care. When they do that kind of thing, or like, be quiet, you're gonna upset you're gonna upset the waiter. Like, just take responsibility. Like, I will be upset, but that shouldn't be the reason that they're gonna behave.
Yeah.
That pisses me off.
It
That
should
pisses me
be.
off.
It should be because, again, I say this like every other episode, because nannying really helped me put into perspective what waiting tables is like, and I literally got better at dealing with people if I just thought of them as lifelong toddlers. Where I had to explain to a 5-year-old, sidewalks are a shared experience like life, and then I was like, holy shit, like a
Huh.
restaurant like life is a shared experience. So it's about teaching that you are important, you matter, but so does that person, and so does that person.
Right.
And you don't like it. Like, that kid hated it whenever I sang. So I'm like, if you don't like me singing my award-winning songs,
Right.
like, I have to respect that. I have to respect that we're in a shared space, even though your taste in music is questionable, kid. But it's about teaching, making it a teachable moment, and not making it be like you should behave because someone else is going to be pissed off. It's like,
Yeah.
there's an opportunity that's missed there.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
and the only thing worse than children in a restaurant is influencers.
Thankfully, I have not had that much experience, because the last 10 years that I've waited tables was in a little neighborhood restaurant. So I didn't, like, I was the only influencer there, and nobody knew that I was, that I was doing, that I was like taking notes about their behavior. But no, I see a lot of it online. I wouldn't know how to handle somebody who was coming in and like had like, ring lights at their table and taking different angles of their food. That would make me nuts. I would
I mean,
probably
and just
lose my patience.
occupying your table for so long, which is, it's an agreement, right? It is an
Oh,
exchange of money for services, and they're
and
getting all comped, and then they're sitting for like 2 or 3 turns,
ugh.
getting the perfect picture, which is like, I thought it was annoying one-on-one. Last March-ish, I was working at this other place, and there was a makeup brand that did an event for these 26 influencers. And so it was a private event that I worked with 2 other people. And hell is on earth. And it was that night with the 26 influencers who, it's like, how do I put food on the table? How do I get around you? Like, I'm carrying a tray of martinis and you're just like swinging around your selfie stick.
Yeah.
And it interrupts service. It's so annoying. And then I'm not sure, do you follow Dadi online? Daadi?
No,
So
but do I need to? Should I be?
oh god, he's amazing. So he's basically this hunk of a man, who, it's really funny because when the internet tried to like shame him, because he takes his
Finding
videos
it.
from
Yeah.
weird angles, and so like they tried to like body shame him, like, you're just upset because da da da, and then like he releases a thirst trap. And he's like, oh, so this is me sitting up, and this is me on a beach in swim trunks, and it's like, there you go. So
Oh.
the brand is Dottie. That's his parents' popcorn brand that he promotes. But
Oh.
he's a daddy, and he trolls influencers. He does all these stitches, and he calls them out on their bad behavior. Influencers who have like requested $4,000 to come in and try a piece of French toast. Like, he calls them out on their bad behavior, and it is one of the most beautiful.
Oh.
And they of course cry. Like, all these influencers, like, you have no idea how hard it is. And then he finds their reel about their day, and he's like, 1 to 4 p.m. meetings, and he's like, meetings with who? Like, you literally just
Yeah.
wrote this. Like, none of this is real.
It's not real. Yeah.
It's not real. Hey there, just checking in. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, why not leave us a 5-star review and a comment or two wherever you're listening to this from? And don't forget to follow us on social media at TUFF SHIFT Podcast. That's TUFF Shift Podcast. Everywhere. literally everywhere. And just a reminder, gratuity's not included, but tips are always welcome. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF shiftpodcast.com. All right, back to the show. But I want to know for, in calling out these influencers and calling out these people and this bad behavior, where was the birth of Bitchy Waiter? From where did you transition from actor, singer, hoofing it in New York City to
Yeah.
then being like transitioning to an online forum? And did you expect when you started your blog that it would be what it is
Oh,
today?
no. So I started the blog in 2008 when I was working at Vinyl. And I just remember coming home one night and I think I just went on to Blogspot or something. That's what people did then, write blogs, right? And I just wrote it and it was mostly for my coworkers, and it was like maybe 300 words and just started writing. And then I was like, well, I like to write. And I was still auditioning and, doing occasional shows and stuff. But I just kept writing. And so I was blogging I was doing like 5 or 6 blog posts a week, like every day I would blog. And I did that for like 4 years.
Wow.
And then one day, I remember I was at the beach, I was at Long Beach, and I mean, I must have had a cell phone. That's only what I've seen it. Something got picked up. Like some website had picked up one of my quotes or something. It was something about cosmos, and I don't remember, something about pinching somebody's nibble off and using it as a garnish on their Cosmo because I was so pissed off. And they lifted that, and I was like, oh my god, I just got mentioned in this website. And then I just kept going, and then I created a Facebook page, and then after that, I'm like, I was anonymous. I didn't have my name on there or my face. And then after a few years, I'm like, I want to sing a song. So I wrote I don't remember, maybe it was like the 12 Days of Christmas as a Server was maybe my first one or something. And I put it out there, and then I started just doing more and more. And I just no, I never would have dreamed that I would still be doing this in 2008, especially that where it's gone to and the things that it's brought me. But I guess it just, persistence pays. So there was a long time where I was doing that and auditioning. Like I don't audition anymore. I let that ship sail for the moment. I still pay my equity and my SAG dues, but
Rightfully
because you
so.
never know. But I just kept doing it, and now I just try to keep up with all the young influencers and the social media like restaurant influencers and what they're doing. I just see something that they do. I'm like, oh, maybe I can try that. So
Yeah, I mean,
I
I think
just
you do
keep
more than
going.
keep up. I think you are part of what leads the way, and I bet you that once I have them on this show, I will ask them who their inspirations are, who they look up to, and I'm sure so many of these people that are out there will say your name. And are there any like content creators that like you follow? Because you're so hilarious, you're so funny. Who makes you laugh? Like, I follow
um,
you. I follow Drew Talbert. Like, who are the people
yeah.
you love?
I follow Drew, who is a super nice guy, and we've chatted several times. And I follow him. I follow the Angry Bartender.
Ah,
Um,
yes.
I I try not to follow too many because I don't want to be. It's not because I don't want to see what they do, but I don't want to be influenced by what they do.
Yes, that makes
So
sense.
I love what Drew does, and thankfully we do two completely different things. But sometimes, I see something and I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea. I can make a twist of that. And I've seen him do things and he's given me credit like, oh, I got this idea from Bitchy Waiter. But I try not to watch too many of them because I don't want to ever be accused of stealing something that they did
Yeah,
or, like plagiarizing, or even if it's subconscious, so I try not to follow too many. And that's the only reason. But
that's totally fair.
I posted something once, um, and it was totally my own idea. Like I didn't see it, and it turned out Drew Talbert had posted something like a couple of weeks before that was very similar, which I did not see, and it was just coincidence. And people started trolling me, like, "Oh, you stole this from Drew Talbert. Oh, you stole this from Bistro Hoodie." I'm like, I didn't. And then Drew, like being the great guy that he is, like he acknowledged it and was like. Hey, we all have these ideas. They all come up. And, Darron didn't steal this from me. Like he is the OG restaurant influencer. Let's give him, credit where credit is due. So like, he's a great guy.
Yeah,
So
I can
I,
imagine.
So, but those are probably the two that I follow the most: Angry Bartender and Drew.
Would you, is there any like crossover things in the works or anything
Well,
lined up like that?
we tried to. We really, really wanted Drew to be in our movie,
Mm,
and we talked. We had a couple of meetings, but it was a big ask, and he didn't know what we were doing. And like he's very, very successful, so I understand why he was like, I don't know if I want to dip my toe in that unknown water, but. So no, not specifically, but we have said like if I ever go to LA, and if he should come to New York, we definitely want to meet each other so that we can just take a photo of each other and post it, because I think even when people see us respond to each other's comments, people are like, oh my god, Bitchy Waiter and Drew Talbot are talking. It's just funny,
dream
like
come
two
true.
two worlds colliding. So if we ever are in the same city, we definitely want to take a photo so we can at least see, like we're two different people but we get along.
Yeah. That's amazing. Now I want to transition into talking about your film. Because
Yes.
I recently, like right before I moved to New York, doing all these like self-help, self-improvement. It's part of like my self-care for, and not, I mean, well, I guess, yeah, woo woo. It's for just keeping in the game and keeping myself motivated to just create. And one of the concepts that I came up against and realized is the path of least resistance, which in a lot of ways I had already been doing, but not like the path of least resistance in taking the easy way out of everything, but the path
Mm-hmm.
of least resistance in just going to where the natural flow is. Like you're not going to just walk into a wall hoping for the door to appear. Like you could literally move 2 feet over and go to the door, the physical door that's already built
Yeah.
there. There's so many ways to get to where you want to be. So for me, it's all about creating. And even the start of this podcast, I moved to LA at the beginning of the strike. The
Mm-hmm.
industry has not recovered, and pretty much everything that I'm being called in for is now back in New York City. So, like, great timing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think the most important thing you can do is just as a creative person is to create. And so I want to talk about your transition. I think it really speaks to that of doing the blog while still pursuing performing, and then kind of putting the performing away and considering and contributing to your online presence, and then you end up back
Yeah.
almost to the original dream.
Yeah.
So how did this movie come to be, and when did you like, you know what, I want to get back into acting, or I want to write a movie? Because you wrote the script, right?
No, I didn't. I did
Okay.
not write the script. The It was written and directed by my friend Ken McLaughlin,
Mhm.
and we have collaborated. I don't know, maybe 8 years now, I guess, on a lot of Bitchy Waiter stuff, and that was just we met on like he just like you said earlier. He DM'd me and said, "I like what you do. I do some, I make films, and I have a couple of things that I think you might like." So I literally do reply to every message. So I wrote him back, and then we just got to know each other. And now 8 years later, we're making this movie. So this was Ken's idea,
Hmm.
and his because he is a filmmaker. So, but he knew that I was an actor. So it was kind of like together with, and not just the two of us, but a whole army of people started putting it together, and somehow we're making it happen.
Yeah.
And but it is kind of funny that that Bitchy Waiter has let me go like get like into a movie now, and it's like my stage show. Like I quit auditioning, but now I have my own show. And it's like an hour and a half one-man show where I'm like singing and telling jokes and monologues. So somehow Bitchy Waiter has led me back to where I originally wanted to go.
Yeah,
It's
and I
kind of
think that
crazy.
there's a lesson in not waiting for the chances to be given to you, but to make the chances happen
Yeah.
for yourself, to give yourself the break. This is we talked about this last week with Eden. Uh, that like the beauty of cabaret is the fact that I get to tell a story, and I don't have to
Yeah.
wait 2 years to book my first job in LA. I
Right.
can tell whatever story in the moment I want to do.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited
Oh my
about
God,
that.
thank
I
you
love that show. I'm so
so
excited for you.
much. I mean, so yesterday we don't start music until next week just because of everyone's schedule. So we did the read through, and they were playing the newest cast recording in
Oh,
between, so just everyone gets a sense. And it's like the first song isn't over,
so
and I'm already fucking crying. I'm like, son
oh,
of a bitch! Like,
that
how are we gonna
show.
get through this? It is,
It's
and
so good.
everyone, it was like the first read through, and it's such a talented cast. I had no idea what I was walking into. I want
Mm.
to perform. I always
Oh
want to
gosh.
perform, whether it's a 99 seat theater contract
Hmm.
or, the Broadway league. I just want to perform.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to where it's like, oh God, this is gonna be something good. It's a
Yeah.
small theater, but
It doesn't
the
matter. You're
cast
performing.
is beautiful. Exactly, exactly. But this isn't about me. Like, don't make it about me. This is about you. Even though I made it about me. But yeah, creating these opportunities, and it just seems only natural. And I mean, clearly, what were your thoughts when you read this script, and like, why did you gravitate towards of the scripts he offered you, like the horror? Like, what is it? Because the name "We're So
Well,
Dead" is just
yeah.
hilarious. Because like when it's dead at a restaurant, like, it's, oh, we're so dead, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna make money, and then it's like, oh, this is a fucking horror
Yeah.
film. That's
You're literally dead.
funny.
So like this, Ken, this is all Ken, right? So we knew we wanted to have like I mean obviously it was going to be set in a restaurant, and almost everybody in in the movie either does work in a restaurant or has worked in a restaurant. Ken has always worked in restaurants, so it was a world that we were all familiar with, but we kind of thought that a horror comedy movie seemed to make sense for what we wanted to do because this is very low budget, but so you can kind of go as campy and as silly as you want to go, when you are kind of embracing the campiness and the low
Yeah,
budget that you're dealing with. So that was kind of the reasoning behind it. And it is We're So Dead because it takes place in a restaurant on Christmas Eve, and there was like the whole restaurant was booked for like a big huge party, and the day of they cancel, so they had
oh,
already turned down all these reservations, so they're so dead, and then one person comes in, and it's a Karen.
God
I'll let
bless.
you figure out the rest.
So just logistically, you're premiering on September
Yeah.
22nd in Atlanta. Are you going to Atlanta for the
I
premiere?
am, yeah, because that's where we shot it. That's where Ken is from. Like that's where the movie is. That's where like everything has happened. So yeah, I'm going on September 22nd for our initial screening, and that's at this really beautiful like historic Art Deco theater called the Plaza Theater. Super excited, and then our plan is to do some other screenings around the country for over the next couple of months is what we're hoping, if we can pull together the funds, and then release it digitally for streaming.
Hmm.
So the thought is if we could do a bunch of, or as many as we could, screenings just to kind of get some momentum of the people who are following us, that it might encourage them to want to download it. And for casting, we ended up using good actors, but people who also had good big social media followings. So there's my dog.
Yeah. Oh,
So we
baby.
have like uh, Aaron Goldenberg, who is like one of the mean gays. Like we've
Oh,
all seen him.
yes.
He's
Yes.
in it. Like Ethan Trace, who is huge on TikTok, is in it. We have Olivia Titleman, who is like a influencer, a chef. She's got like millions of followers. Jenna Canal is in it, who was like in the Terrifier movies. So all of these people have a lot of social media following. So, but they're also good actors. So we
Yes.
thought this is a way that we can, use good actors, use people who are familiar with the restaurant industry, and then use all of our social media presence combined to get the word out that you can download this movie. That's the
Exactly.
plan. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
good, bad, or ugly about influencing and social media and the state of where it's at. It's part of what's going to be changing the industry. Much needed. It's okay. um, to create these opportunities for new artists and new voices, and it's not going to be the same five actors. It's not going to be the same five Marvel movies, which I love Marvel, and I would put
Yeah.
on speedos for anybody. Not anybody,
Right.
not speedos, spandex. Well, let me see the paycheck first.
Either way. Yeah.
Let me see the paycheck first. Um, but that's exciting, and I think it's amazing that you guys are working with the Giving Kitchen.
I
Like I
know.
mentioned in the opening, like I was affected, but thankfully not that affected by the
Mhm.
fire. So I can relate. But I mean, people, entire neighborhoods and industries were
Yeah.
gone, and places like Giving Kitchen, places like all
They,
these
They saved a
organizations
lot
that
of people. Yeah.
saved a lot of people. So I think it's amazing. I love that it's $2.13 from
I
each ticket
know.
sale, because if for
Yeah.
the listeners who don't know, most people working for tips do not qualify for the national minimum wage. They're brought back down to the tipping minimum wage, which is usually $2 and some change.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great number and very meaningful and impactful. And I'm just glad that these stories and people who we've worked through this, we've worked these tough shifts, and now you get a chance to be on the other side of it. And this is what you're doing it for. I did all that shit. I took all this crap from you because I want to be on screen, because I want to do X, Y, and Z. And here we are. I think that's
I know.
phenomenal.
It's really I love that Giving Kitchen is helping us and helping sponsor, just because what I really love and want Bitchy Waiter to be is that it it used to be just really just complaining like in
Yeah.
2008, but it's evolved, and now I really want it to be like the voice of servers and representing other people, and being a community for people to know that they're not alone in their struggles in the restaurant industry. And so I love that Giving Kitchen is part of it, because it kind of just it just makes me feel like Bitchy Waiter is more than just complaining,
Yeah.
and it really is about support. And I've had so many people who've written me over the years asking, like, "Oh, my restaurant burned down. What can I do?" And I've sent them the Giving Kitchen link, or Southern Smoke Foundation is another great one. And then they'll write me back like a month later and say, "Oh my God, they gave me a grant. I was able to pay my rent." And I'm like, "Oh God, it feels so good."
Wow.
It makes me feel so
That's
good.
that's
So I'm
phenomenal.
honored that Giving Kitchen is going to be a part of this. It's great.
Wonderful. And you know, I realized in this conversation, there's a few things that I skipped over that I wanted to definitely hit. So we plugged the movie. We're going to go see
Yes.
the movie. Please come to LA. I will be at that premiere. But okay, as the Bitchy Waiter, and as this
Hmm.
community where you share these posts, and it started off as bitchy and then it evolved. It still has bitch sprinkled into it, but it has a lot more nuance.
Yeah.
I find it wild with a Y that does not belong in the middle of wild. That people come to you, people who follow you, people who
Yeah.
choose to follow you, then choose to come to your content and leave like scathing reviews or call you
Oh
out for
yeah.
being annoying or saying
Yeah.
why did we tip people, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like how do you wrap your head around the people that like choose to follow you just to troll you?
Well, I mean, I do what I should not do, and I read. I mean, I told you I read all of my DMs and I
Yeah.
reply to almost all of them. And I can't read all of the comments because there's sometimes there's too many, but I
Yeah.
read a lot of the comments. And sometimes, like, I can take them personally, which I should not, but I do. But what I enjoy doing is when somebody is complaining or trying to call me out on something that is really, that's what I am doing, is calling out bad behavior on other people. Is sometimes I will take a screenshot of their DM or their comment, and then I will just post it on my social media and say, haha, look what I got today. Does someone want to explain to fill in the blank, name, and what do you have to say? And then I just let other people roast them for me.
Yeah.
So I don't have to do it. And I know it's immature and childish, but I'm petty. I mean, it's this what did start as a voice just to complain about the service industry. So as heartfelt as I can be sometimes, I'm petty underneath. So
Well, and you've built this loyal following and people who will go to bat for you. Like if it's not in the DMs, if
yeah.
it's just in the comments, like you have people
Oh,
that just will like attack on your behalf. And
I
I
love it.
I think that's beautiful.
It
I
makes me
think
so happy. I love it. And I when I really do try to, talk to as many people as I can. And there are some people who have been following Bitchy Waiter for like as long as it's been going. And so I recognize their names, when I see them post. But a couple of months ago, one was it's like somebody was in New York City and she DM'd me. And it's like, I would love to meet you. I would love to come in, and say hi to you at your job. And so it's like, I have been DMing this woman for like 10 years. So I told her, I'm like, let's meet at 75th and Columbus, at this time. So we met, and she was so excited to meet me, but I was like crying. I was like, I
mm,
just appreciate you so much, because honestly, none of this would happen if it wasn't for the people who were reading my content. So I owe it all to the people who follow the Bitchy Waiter. And that's as sincere as I can be. That's truthful.
Oh, that's beautiful. That actually is, that's very meaningful and exactly who I assumed you to be. And and like I said,
Well,
being the
yeah.
recipient of somebody who's just like regurgitated my trauma to you, and you just calmly like just acknowledged me. It's like sometimes
Well,
that's all it takes, and it really is impactful.
I mean, I always like to say I'm not really a bitch. I just play one online.
Yeah,
So I'm actually
exactly.
pretty nice. When people meet me in person, they're like, "Oh my God, you're actually really nice." I'm like, "I know. That's just a caricature online. I'm not really that horrible person." You
Do
know.
you have like when you go out? Do
Hmm.
you go out, or do you prefer
Hmm.
to not go out because like you're like
No.
I feel like if I get recognized, people are going to expect
Uh,
X Y Z. Like, what are the difficulties
no.
being the bitchy waiter and going to dine?
I mean, I love it. Like, it's not like I get recognized all the time, but I do get recognized, you know, enough, like a couple times a month, somebody's like on the train, like, "Hey, bitchy waiter." And that just always just takes me by shock, first of all.
Yeah,
But then I'm just so excited that somebody is actually relating enough to the content that I put out there that they want to say hi to me. And when I go into a restaurant and it's a waiter that knows who I am, or a bartender, and they want to give me like a shot or something, I'm like, of course. I mean, my rule, and my husband, like, you never turn down a free shot.
no,
So I love it. I mean, it makes me so happy. Although one person did send me a screenshot. They saw me on the subway once, and they took a picture of me, and then they sent me a DM and they said, "Hey, I saw you on the train this morning, but I didn't want to say hi." I'm like, "So you just took a
took
picture
a
of
picture.
me?"
I
And I'm all like hunched over, looking at my phone, looking all gross. And I'm like, I'm like, "Haha, thanks, but next time just say hi."
Yeah, because that's less creepy than taking a picture. I hate when people online share pictures, even if it's bad behavior, of pictures of random people on the subway who are like having a bad day, da da da, like just taking
Yeah,
pictures, and it's like
it's
that's kind of creepy, right?
yeah, it's
Like
kind of weird.
we had a conversation about consent in 2018, right? We're still
Yes.
talking about it. We don't even do that anymore. So I want to give you a moment. I really love wrapping it up here with what you mean and that interaction you had with that person on 75th and Columbus, which is
Yes.
near one of my haunts, the Owl's Tail that I used to work at. Go see the Owl's Tail.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I will.
oh God, the cocktails there are phenomenal.
I'll
Um,
go there. Yeah.
but I want to give you a chance to shout out where people can find you one more time,
Yeah.
to follow the movie, to follow you, to get a because you can order cameos. You know he's on Cameo.
I know.
So
I do. I'm like the cheapest person on Cameo. I
I'll
charge
take
like
five.
$7 because I just feel like, oh, this is so silly. I'm just in my bedroom, like talking to somebody. But you can find me like on Instagram and Threads and Facebook and whatever on, just at Bitchy Waiter. But for the movie, I would really appreciate it if everybody would go to we're so dead movie.com and we're so dead on Instagram, because that's more movie centric, that like I'm sharing that stuff too, but I can't just share about that. So we're so dead movie.com is really where to find the most information about the movie. And then if you just want to see like this mug and my content, then you can find me at Bitchy Waiter.
And buy
That's about
t-shirts
it.
because he has t-shirts on his
Oh, I
website as
know.
well.
I know it's so embarrassing. Like my husband's like, "Really? Like, will you do anything for a buck?" I'm like, "Yeah, kinda."
Yeah, I
But
went to
that's
musical theater
because like
school.
all those years of like gig work, like I catered, and you're like, "Oh, I got to like two shows. I got to." So yeah, I'm always trying to figure like, how can I make this work?
Like literally, when you pay for the next vacation because of t-shirt sales or cameos, just be like, you make him sit in economy. You're sitting in first
Yes,
class.
I mean, I think we both appreciate what Bitchy Waiter has done for us, and for me personally, I'm just super grateful that I've gotten to do this for as long as I can,
I
as
love
long as
that.
I have. It's great.
I love that. And just to echo what I've already said a million times, we're so grateful that you get to do that.
Yeah.
So, in wrapping things up, I know you said you've listened to a few of the most recent episodes. You
Hmm.
know that I like to end every show with something good, and we know both being online, both working in restaurants, working on stage, bad reviews, they gain a life and they gain traction, and very
Hmm.
rarely do good reviews or any good news ever see the light of day. So that's why I like
Yeah.
to go out of my way. If I'm having a good experience at work, if I'm having a good experience as a customer, I want to get to who needs to hear that and say, hey, you know what, I came in for dinner and your staff is phenomenal. So and
Yeah.
so just like anticipated every need, just wonderful. So that way that gets back. And if I'm having a good shift, and it's like, Tyler, who's my work husband, I love you, work husband.
Hmm.
He just makes my days so much easier. We lock eyes. He makes me work better, and I want to let management know, even though they do know about Tyler because Tyler's the greatest. Um, uh, so I want to get that back there. So who is somebody in your career on
Hmm.
stage, in restaurants, online, that has made a tough shift easier for you, that you want to just shout out today and say thank you for what they do?
Well, the person I would say right now off the top of my head is a woman named Kat Kinsman, who she is she's an editor at Food and Wine, and she used to work at CNN. And she initially asked me to write something for CNN's Eatocracy website or blog, like maybe 10 years ago. And she's just one of those people. She loves food, she loves cocktails, she loves the industry, and she's always given me so much. She always trusts me to do things, and she's the one who lets me write for Food and Wine. Like I write 4 episodes or 4 columns a week for Food and Wine, and that's because of Kat Kinsman. And really, without her push to let me move into that world, I don't know if I would be where I am today. So I would say Kat Kinsman for that, for sure. She's awesome.
Cat Cat Kinsman, and I actually remember it was like a year or so ago. You may have been doing it longer, but a year or so there was excitement around. Was it your first article coming out then?
Yeah, yeah, probably. I mean, I write primarily online for them, but usually once a year I actually get into the magazine, which just blows my mind that
I just
I
remember
have
the
that.
excitement of that,
Oh,
that you posted your excitement, but then
oh
also
yeah,
the collective community's excitement. So,
I know.
Kat,
It's
thank you. Thank you for
exactly.
just being part of what helps spread the love, and for being the person that believes in people and doesn't
Yep.
just take opportunities, but makes
No,
opportunities.
she
Clearly, the
does.
world needs more people like you. This has been another episode of Tough Shift. I am over the fucking moon. Uh, just remember that tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life. Take care. Tough Shift was created and hosted by Patrick Murtagh. It was recorded on Riverside and distributed with Buzzsprout. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and maybe a comment or two. And remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life.